In case anyone needs to know, the views and opinions expressed in this video do not represent everyone that works at Chaosbringer Productions. This video contains adult language and adult content. With a name like Chaosbringer, you should know that. So sit back and enjoy this video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Adam and Chris Show. I'm St. Adam.
I'm Chris Malice. Today we're going to discuss a very polarizing topic, what I call proxy censorship. What is proxy censorship? There's censorship by government, such as the bullshit Utah anti-porn law, where they declared porn a public health crisis.
As you know, Chris is really sensitive about that.
Most guys are. Anyone that tells you they're not and they don't look at it is fucking lying.
Okay, well, censorship by proxy. How does that work exactly?
So what it is instead of the government stepping in and doing it, it's people creating fake outrage because they've seen over the last 3 or 4 years that this is profitable for them. Kicking up a beehive about bullshit and getting worked up about it.
I'm pretty sure that's a porn fetish in and of itself.
Probably. Well, going back to that, well, here's the thing. Their view is, one of the things that they want to stop is human trafficking. It's not going to stop human trafficking. No censorship stops the thing that they say it's going to stop.
I don't see how censoring porn is going to stop sex trafficking.
Well, I guess, a couple of the suburban slobs that are no longer happy with fucking their wives are, going to prostitutes that are being trafficked. So they think, hey, if we don't get them worked up, they won't go do that. They will still do that because the reason they do that shit is the same reason why a dog licks his own asshole, because it can. All right? It has nothing to do with being worked up. But all those types of laws don't end up stopping the things that they're supposed to stop. Well, they want to something like that they want to use to go after adultery. Adultery's still going to exist. Adultery's always existed.
Is adultery really illegal?
It's not the government's job. It's not. If you screw around on your wife, that's between you and your wife. It ain't the job of the state government or the federal government to get involved with that. That's actually a traditionally conservative viewpoint. We used to have that before cable news started creating buzzwords and basically blurring the lines of what government is and what political theocracy is.
Well,
I digress.
Is it something that's only affecting the porno industry?
There's plenty of things. Right now we're coming to a phase, and I think it started right around 2014, 2015, of sanitizing the internet. Getting all the bad off there. First off, let me let this out there. The reason people go to the internet is to look up shit that they're not going to see on normal television. Okay?
Except for people that look up television clips.
Yeah, that's about it. You're going to a semi-unregulated area to look up, let's say, I don't know, old grindhouse horror movies that they will never put on nationally syndicated television, or hell, even some cable television. You're doing that, so you're making that choice. The idea with the censorship that happens on national syndicated television is because it's public view. Okay? So the view is, hey, kids are going to be looking at this type of stuff. This goes broadcast everywhere to every television. So that's why we have the law involved with that. A lot of that has to do with there's all kinds of Supreme Court rulings that I could break down right now in the next 2 or 3 hours, but we'll be here for months. But what we're doing
Some of us have been.
Yeah, what we're doing is what society, or what I call the anti-free speech advocates, are doing is going past the government regulators because they know they can't do anything. They know the government can't come in and stop a YouTuber or anything like that. They have no merit. So what they're doing is kicking up a shitstorm and calling things different things, creating fake outrage because it's beneficial to them financially to get things deplatformed, taken out of context, stuff like that, to get the other thing pushed away. There's plenty of examples in art recently. It started right before Gamergate. My view is simply Anita Sarkeesian kicked that beehive because she wanted to find a way to make money with a bullshit college degree that she got in what, fucking gender studies.
I don't know what she got.
I don't care because we didn't need her. Okay, I know what's racist. I know what's sexist. I don't need some fucking Canadian tell me what is.
And for any people in Canada watching this, there's a Twitter that Chris is on soon enough, and you can express your outrage there.
Oh, there'll be plenty of it. But anyways, it kind of started with that. I think my view is a lot of people started seeing that she made money, and then Donald Trump became president, just, kicking beehives.
I would say that Donald Trump and Anita are two sides of that same coin.
Yep.
They both have a very thin skin. They both avoid honest debate, and they both, can't handle being criticized. They distort the facts. So, yeah, I would say Donald Trump
both
and Anita
want
are
certain forms of expression taken away. Donald Trump was tweeting about how burning the American flag needs to be a federal felony. Justice Scalia has came out and stated before that. He can't come out now unless he's a ghost. The Supreme Court ruling, Justice Scalia straight up stated, I'm offended by it, but I'm not a king. I don't like it. I'm not going to do it. But again, when you have the government start doing stuff like that, getting involved with that type of speech, that you open that bottle, the censorship genie don't come back in. So we get rid of flag burning. Now something that right-wingers like, or the other political ideas, political side likes. Okay, Steven Crowder, we're going to go from him now. And then the other side, it's a constant game of chess where they're pulling pawns off the chessboard.
No, it's not chess because that's too much strategy. This is like kindergartners playing checkers, There's going to be here, there, and someone's going to tip over the board.
But it all stems from fake outrage. Outrage of things that 7 or 8 years ago we weren't pissed about. But some asshole online started acting all offended by it, now we are.
Well, there is something to be said about society growing and saying, like, hey, that wasn't cool back then, let's not do that now.
Yeah, what good does it do? I'll give you, here's my...
we're not having people on television doing blackface, so that's a plus.
Okay, that's a plus. Here's where we go to the world of fiction. Anita Sarkeesian became famous for basically saying, the video game industry is bad to women and all those types of things.
Well, no, she came out and said everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is horrible, except apparently for the stuff she does.
Well, except hating men.
Yeah, that's not sexist at all. But no, so, and you're right, you see it happening everywhere, censorship by proxy. Like some of the stuff in video games. Since you brought up Anita, and that was her big thing with video games.
Sony, right now, there's certain games, they originally tried to censor Devil May Cry 5. They put a white blur lens over a half-naked woman.
Too bad they didn't try to censor out those microtransactions.
That's a different video for a different time with a whole lot of rage. And EA. But I digress. And Sony was one of the big publishers that would say no to stuff like censorship.
Well, not just that. I know you're a big fan of, what's that first-person shooter game?
Overwatch,
yeah. You're a big fan.
Oh, yeah, Tracer's butt.
Yeah,
so Tracer had
or something.
Tracer had a post where her butt was out a little bit.
Was it her naked butt?
No.
Okay.
It's a butt that you can show off to an 8-year-old, I guess. It's not bare. You're going to see it if she walks away.
Whoever's showing butts off to their kids.
But here's the thing. It's a game that's, kind of PG-13-ish, or it's,
Right. Well, it's a first-person shooter.
We've decided years ago that the stuff in that game was okay around kids. And
Well,
it's not like...
You said it's comic book art, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a pose.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just a
sure.
pose.
I mean,
Someone got outraged about it, and what happened is Blizzard stupidly submitted to them. You can't, and that's another part of the problem, is with these big companies, there's some things to be outraged about. I'll go into that real briefly. But these companies have this view that the moment somebody bitches about something, they got to remove it. Was that person a fan to begin with? Do you think these people were playing Overwatch that complained about that hours on end like some of the others?
No. You know, I think some of these people don't play the game. We're never going to play the game to begin with.
Exactly.
And I mean, then you're kind of hurting your target audience, because if your target audience says, "Hey, I don't see anything wrong with that," but at this, I mean, yeah, that's all right. I would hate for someone to have you look at what Steam's like. Okay, so I'm trying to get to the point that I'm stuttering over my own words. Like if you had, say, the game Ethnic Cleansing on Steam, yeah, that should probably
I mean, that game's shit.
Yeah, that game is shit. But I mean, there's something to get pissed about. Someone posing in a comic book like pose. Probably not going to end the world.
You bring up Steam. Let's talk about hatred on Steam. Oh, wow.
Well, what, in the comment section? There's a lot of hatred out there.
No, the game, the spree shooter game that tries way too hard to piss people off, and it comes off as funny as fuck instead of scary.
The game that said, "Oh, we're a realistic shooter," but it's just so comical. It stars Nathan Explosion, apparently.
Well, there's not many spree shooters that can perform an execution, and all of a sudden their bullet wounds get healed from the cops shooting at them. Doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, just the end of the game where you fight your way into the nuclear power plant.
That was funny. And the code to get the nuclear power plant to explode is 666. There's trying hard, then there's that. But that game was, when it was released on Steam, was eventually given an AO rating. There was outrage. Steam pulled it, and then eventually put it back on there and sent a message to the developers, apologizing for that. But it was outrage over it. You know what you don't do? You don't play the fucking game. That's that. It's just that simple. A lot of this stuff, you just don't support it. This idea of, I'm going to change what they're going to do.
What about on the flip side when oh, shoot. What's that game that you love? That first-person shooter. The third one takes place on an island.
Far Cry.
Far Cry 5. Remember the conservative outrage about that game?
Oh, yeah. The character in Far Cry 5 was trying to be more like, what's his name from Waco? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Instead of, a lot of people reading more into it like, oh, it's a condemnation of Trump, when they decided that the character was going to be more like that cult leader from Waco.
David Koresh.
But I digress. Some people wanted censorship. I think we need to grow up.
Right. I mean, you're saying, this is not so much a political issue because both sides do it. And,
yes.
Really you got to decide if that's the hill you want to die on.
Well, if that's the hill you want to die on.
Well, people protesting both Kaepernick, for his, with Nike. I'll never buy Nike because they're associated with Kaepernick. Then on the flip side, you got people, throwing tantrums over, like an all-female Ghostbusters movie or something.
Well, a tantrum should have been thrown over that just because the movie was bad.
The movie was bad, but I mean, you had people...
You don't need to start threatening Leslie Jones's fucking life for them.
No, you don't.
Look, actors get paychecks, okay? If you say no to a role, that could have been the only role you had that year. The only time you earned a paycheck that year.
Really? Explain Pacino and Jack and Jill.
We're done. Fucking bye. That's it.
So yeah, you're saying this is an issue that it's both sides that do this. It's not like you're saying this side's the people that do it and this side is the one that suffers. You're saying both sides.
Well, you have bad actors on both sides that are doing it solely to for themselves to elevate themselves. They're not.
Right.
You're not solving problems. You're not solving
No, they're
world
creating problems.
Yeah.
In some cases, they're definitely creating problems.
Yeah, you're creating more hostility in our political
really,
environment.
to tie it all back to the Utah thing and how they may try to declare porn, like a medical emergency or whatever. If you think incels are bad now, just see how they are when you take away the only thing they have to live for.
Yeah. Now, what's your Twitter handle for that outrage?
For what? The angry incels?
Yeah, but you do realize some of those people actually have a history of violence.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nothing that I think. How do I want to word this? It's nothing I'm worried about.
But with all this stuff going on, what it does is it creates an environment. And there's an old saying in comedy where you basically, you don't go after an act. You don't act outraged about a certain routine.
Well,
because the moment you start doing that, you create an atmosphere where censorship is absolutely, and that's where we're at. We're at a point where censorship, and we're in an atmosphere where, yes, it's a very divisive political time, but we're in an atmosphere where it's completely excusable.
Well, I mean, you bring comedy into this. When you have this kind of manufactured outrage and you have this censorship by proxy, you're creating an environment that people like George Carlin or Richard Pryor could never exist in.
Exactly.
And I mean, those guys are legendary comedians. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, remember that article about Bill Hicks that I showed you?
It's fucking stupid. Every one of those people who contributed to that need to fucking get a new line of work. You're not a comedian if you have to go after Bill Hicks. My view is you're not a comedian if you go after the art form. Because what happens is news media outlets that advocate for censorship of other stuff instead of them start using those quotes. They start, this comedian here said what he said was offensive. This comedian here said what he said was bad.
Okay, well, on the flip side of that, what would you say to people that are like, talking about this kind of thing that say, look what happened to Roseanne?
Yeah, Roseanne just sucked.
Well,
that woman's voice made my head want to blow up.
There you have it. But, I was going to say, I don't feel that that's the same situation because, she made comments that were
racially sensitive comments.
They're racist. But her boss, the president of ABC, was black. If you go to work and you make a comment about...
You have to have some level of common sense when being an edgelord.
If you're going to get fired, making those comments at work, why should Roseanne?
Yeah.
And that's not... I don't think it was like so much the public. I think it was like her, the president of ABC just looking at it going, the fuck?
Yeah.
And, fire.
So one of the things, as I said, when we have this type of... And a lot of people say, who struck the first blow? You look at where YouTube is, where...
Well, but this shit's been going on forever.
Yeah,
I remember I would go on Hulu, watch some old episodes of Married with Children from the 90s, and they would have the same issue going on.
You're right, we would. Here's the problem. When people would act all outraged in the 90s, we told them to take it on the fucking arches.
Oh, yeah, like when you saw people protesting Marilyn Manson.
Look what it did for him. Where's he at now? He's bigger. He got bigger because people were protesting.
But I mean, nobody took them seriously when they're like, Manson's to blame for Columbine. Everyone's like, no, he's not.
Well, no one was taking him seriously, but also at that time, and this is why you don't feed those types of people, you don't do what they say, because then you're going to be doing it the rest of your life. Then your industry, or let's say you're a publisher, a game publisher, or a YouTube, a platform holder, you're going to be constantly doing it after you've backed down to that.
Right. Once you give in to that train of thought, you can never go back on that, it seems like.
Yeah, because someone's going to...
we've created a line in the sand where it's either give in or double down. Not look at each situation individually. It's either this or this always.
Yeah.
And I think that does hurt a lot of
look at where we're at now with
that.
Everything has been going through the internet. We have Spotify. More people are not buying CDs, hopping on Spotify. What if someone gets outraged by some of the music on there? Now, there's plenty of shit to be outraged about in music. Sit there. Well, I mean, you could get ticked at this because it's pretty much taking the piss out of Ronald Reagan. But
And
hip
who
hop
doesn't
music,
love that?
country music, classic music. I mean, Mozart was a pederast. Not Mozart. Was it Amadeus? Yeah. Salieri.
Sorry to all you Mozart.
Oh, I didn't know.
family
Yeah, he
members
was
out
chasing
there.
13-year-olds around trying to fuck them.
Amadeus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could maybe argue that's why Salieri killed him, but I digress.
There you go.
But this kind of fake outrage culture needs to end. It should have ended a long time ago. The first person to sit there and say, I want that taken off of YouTube or whatever, everyone should have collectively looked at him and laughed in their fucking face.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate with that spree shooter that put his entire spree streaming.
YouTube should
on
have shut
YouTube.
that shit down within an hour. I don't get why none of them, because that's happened more than once.
Has
YouTube
it?
or Facebook. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
The mosque shooting in New Zealand, it was streaming. Why are you going to let this shit go on for fucking like 3 or 4 hours? Find out where it is, cut it down right then and there. I agree.
get
That's
rid
a
of-
good line in the sand to put it.
And on top of that, get rid of the Paul brothers. I'm
Yeah.
just throwing that one out there. It's not really connected, but get rid
No,
of the
they're
Paul
human
brothers.
cancer.
All right. Well, I guess you pretty much got that off your chest. As we do in these videos, we like to end on like a more happy note, no matter what has gone on. So we like to recommend things for you to check out. They could be things that are new, things that have been around for a while, and you just might not have gotten to them. So, Chris, what do you recommend to everyone?
Yeah, I'm recommending the CD Money Talks by Cryptic Slaughter. Great kind of hardcore-ish, punky 80s thrash. It's awesome. I love them. I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. Very anti-establishment band.
I love that.
Well, rock and roll's naturally anti-establishment. Once it starts kissing the rings of the establishment, it probably shouldn't be doing what it's doing. Or exist. That's my degree.
And I'm actually going to recommend a series of movies that I actually went back and rewatched and love them even more now than I did when I first saw them. That's the Phantasm movies, the horror movies
Yeah,
starring
those are
Angus
great.
Schrimm.
He's no
Great
longer with us.
movies, great movies. They've been going on since the late 70s. I really don't want to spoil it for you, but if you like creepy, supernatural type of horror movies
With a sci-fi twist.
with a sci-fi twist, but very atmospheric also, check these out. Any horror fan worth their salt will tell you they're great. So, aside from that, I want to say thank you to all of you for watching this video. I want to thank Chris here for not having a heart attack while getting that off his chest.
Yeah.
And if you liked what you saw, please follow us on Twitter. Please like this video, thumbs it up, and share it if you'd like.
And ring that bell.
And ring that bell. So, once again, from the Chris and Adam Show, I'm St. Adam,
I'm Chris Malice.
and you have a good day.